Welcome to the Time Management Podcast with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. I'm a productivity coach, global speaker, time management author, and award-winning entrepreneur on a mission to share the 888 formula with the world and to remind you that it's your time. Leave it to me to bring you new time management tips, tricks, tools, and strategies, to introduce you to guests, research, and case studies from around the world, and to give you a simple 5-step process you can follow to uplevel your productivity, achieve your goals, and create a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. I'm so excited that you're here, so let's get started. Welcome to the show. It's you and me today for a conversation all about imposter syndrome and the big secret that nobody is telling you. This episode has been highly demanded, and I'm so excited to be able to bring it to you today. And it is most likely going to be one of a number of parts. But let's dive in where we're at and start at the beginning. What is imposter syndrome? Well, according to the Oxford Languages, it is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. 70% of people are likely to experience it at some point in their career or life. And I'm not sure if this is you, but it's certainly me and has been me in my corporate career as well as in my business journey over the years. In my opinion, imposter syndrome has many different layers, many different faces, many different shadows that it hides behind. And in my work over the years, having taught this in classes, trainings to individuals, organizations, the research that I did helped me to identify that there are actually a number of faces to this monster, if you like. And it was the work of Dr. Valerie Young that introduced me to the 5 different faces of imposter syndrome: the perfectionist, the superhuman, the natural genius, the soloist, and the expert, as different faces of imposter syndrome. And in order to be able to overcome something, in my opinion, the more we can understand specifically what it is, the easier it is to then put in place a counter approach to it. That's what imposter syndrome is. We just do not believe that we deserve what we have and or that we've worked hard enough for it. Dr. Valerie's work then builds on this. But where does imposter syndrome actually come from? It comes from our caregivers, our parents, our teachers, our religious leaders, our culture, our society, the media. It comes from, in essence, a life that we have lived. And they learnt it from people who were raising them, teaching them, educating them. And imposter syndrome is going to have a different flavor for every single person, depending on what country they are from, what ingredients were put into their recipe. In order to be able to overcome it, it's important to understand more about our recipe, our flavor, and how, in essence, it's showing up for us. Because imposter syndrome is actually costing us something. It's cost us something in the past, and it's costing us something right here, right now. In the past, it might be promotions, it might be pay rises, it might be personal peace. It might then be going forward, opportunities, success, whatever that means to you. It might be money, it might be love, it might be support, it might be friendship. The list goes on. It's whatever is on the other side of this monster. Everything in life is a cause and an effect. It's basic science. So something happens and there is a consequence to it. What was the trigger? The trigger for all of us, as I'm saying, is going to be different. But what we need to understand is that the trigger, in most cases, has what they call a hidden benefit. And what I mean by this is something that we are gaining from having imposter syndrome. There is something that we are gaining from feeling like an imposter. An example from my own life. If you followed along on the podcast, you will hear that I procrastinated over starting the podcast for a long time. I've done live streams over the years. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've done panel interviews. I've spoken on stages to audiences in person and online. It's not that I am scared about doing it, but for me, creating a podcast was out of my comfort zone. It was new skills and abilities and information that I didn't actually have. And so I started to tell myself a story that people like me don't do this, that it's too late to do this, that nobody would be interested if I were to do this, etc., etc. And imposter syndrome really is a convincing story that you believe about whatever it is that you want to do next. And like I said, these stories are made up of ingredients from others, from the external world, to keep us safe. Our minds that we spend way too much of the time using to think about things are designed very simply to keep us safe. They're not designed to do half of the things that we're asking them to do. And this is part of the problem. This is part of the reason why imposter syndrome has even become a syndrome. It's become something so much bigger than it really is, and that it really needs to be. You want to do something, something is stopping you. The stories you're telling yourself. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. Nobody will take me seriously. I'm not ready. I don't have enough time. It's not the right time. I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not anything enough. Fill in the blank. Whatever the story is that you are telling yourself is why you can't have what it is that you want. In this episode, I'd love you to explore what comes up for you when I am saying these things. First question, what opinion really matters for you in life? Whose opinion really matters for you? Is it your mum's opinion, your dad's opinion, your partner's opinion, your boss's opinion, your colleague's opinion, your friend's opinion, your children's opinion? Is it the opinion of the people on the interwebs? Whose opinion really matters? Because who is actually going to tell you you're good enough, it's good enough, you're allowed to start, it's your time, it's the right time, that's the right thing, no, that's the wrong thing? When we really break this down and we start to explore the next level down, and we come back to this, what is our brain here to do for us? Our brain, quite simply, is here to keep us alive. It is going to put in front of any situation that it's not used to, any obstacle it can possibly find. Our brains are sabotaging us, helpfully believing that they are helpfully sabotaging us, stopping us, aka keeping us safe. But the reality is that doing something different isn't always unsafe. Doing something different is evolution. Doing something different is learning. Doing something different is life, is the life experience that we've all signed up for. And when we're not doing something different, we're just treading water. So who will tell you that you're ready? Who is going to anoint you? Who is going to give you permission Who is going to score your performance? And when we start to break down these barriers in between where we are and where we want to go, and we take them out brick by brick by brick by brick by brick, and we ask ourselves, who am I trying to impress? Whose praise do I really need? When will enough be enough? We realize they're just shadows. They're not real. They're not true. They haven't got any legs. Because in my journey, when I wrote my first book, Time Management for Entrepreneurs, I had the worst imposter syndrome. Who was I to write a book? Who was I to talk about this? Who was I to now go from being a corporate employee in the marketing department to a published author? Who did I think I was? That I could just do that overnight? That I could just have a near-death experience and wake up and decide, I know, I'm going to write a book. I know, I'm going to become an author. Okay. And the imposter was trying to get me to answer the question of who gave me permission. Who gave you permission to do this, Abigail? Well, nobody. Do I need permission? And I started into a loop of, I'm not allowed to do this. I shouldn't have done this. I need permission to do this. It's not good enough. And what we energetically put out, we receive, because that's how the law of attraction works. We wonder why we're attracting the things that we don't want. It's not until we look and question what we're saying that we realize, oh, I am actually a really good manifester. I am actually really good at manifesting the things I don't want. So I would get people asking me, well, but it's self-published. So do you really think that that means that you can call yourself an author? Do you really think that that means that you can say you've written a book? It's not very long, is it? It's not a big book, is it? And there's actually some spelling mistakes in there. So it's not perfect either. This feedback undermined my confidence, my self-confidence in that book for months. It reflected in the sales, it reflected in the success, it reflected in what the potential of something that I had invested time, effort, energy, and money into could actually do. And all of that feedback was the result of the stories I was allowing to grow in my mind. And this is what happens with our minds, because our minds are not meant to come up with the answers. We come up with the answers. Our intuition knows the answers. Our energy attracts the answers. You know, if you have a great idea and you share it with somebody and they say, well, how are you going to do that? First of all, if you have an idea, do not share it with anybody, because the how is not your business. Your business is the idea. Your business is the energy of that idea. Your business is to get excited and stay excited about that idea so that you attract somebody who knows how. All of us in life have different skills, talents, and abilities. If you listen to episode 24 of the podcast, when we had on a human design expert, each of us, according to human design, has a different design. So we each have different skills, talents, and abilities according to that. It's not necessarily about the modality that can help you to understand yourself. It's understanding yourself, and it's moving from an external source of praise to an internal source of praise. Nobody else can understand your roadmap like you do. Nobody else can see your roadmap like you will. Nobody else can follow your roadmap like you can, because it's your roadmap for your life. Your current location is not your final destination. If you are stopping yourself from moving forward, then you will never get to the next place. So I want to share 5 ways that I wasted so much time to this imposter. And the number one, we have been talking about this, was the who do I think I am? You are never going to have a clear answer to that question. You just are who you are. Who do you think you are? I'm just me. You can waste so much time proving, well, I have this certificate, I've done this, I've done that, I'm this, I'm that, la 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 la. You can spend an entire lifetime amassing all of the things you feel you need to be ready, or can just be ready. Second is that it's not good enough. That first book changed lives, but it wasn't good enough to change more lives. It wasn't good enough for me to tell more people about it. The second book, Time Management for Entrepreneurs and Professionals, still has some spelling mistakes in it. It's still 88 pages long. But I know that it is good enough because I am happy it's good enough. And what I also recognize on the journey of just quite simply allowing myself to have the things was that in order for our lives to change, we don't need a lot of things to change. It's a lie that we need to do a huge number of things. In fact, if we change 1 or 2 things, it can have an incredible impact on our results. Don't allow yourself to get sucked into that what is enough, because it will never be enough. The third thing I wasted so much time over this imposter story was nobody will ever take me seriously. Well, spoiler alert, nobody will ever take anybody seriously until they take themselves seriously. Because it's not about other people needing to give you the validation of you are serious, you are credible. Nobody is going to anoint you with, okay, now you can do it. You have to decide for yourself. You have to anoint yourself. And also, you don't have to do anything. If you're happy where you are, be happy where you are. If you want things to be different, you're going to have to try different things. Nobody will take you seriously until you take you seriously. You take you seriously by just deciding. No certificate, no proof, no 1,000 million followers is ever going to be the answer. If you're on that roller coaster, there will never be enough. You will always need more. Number 4, I'm not ready yet. I wasted so much time with this imposter story that I wasn't ready yet, that I needed more things. I needed a brochure. I needed another book. I needed a speaker agent. I needed a video. I needed more testimonials. I needed a website. I needed a podcast. I needed all the things that I believed I needed in order to be able to be who I came here to be. Over the years, nobody has ever asked for any of the things that I thought I needed. Nobody has ever asked me about all of the achievements that I have accumulated over the years. Tell me about that award you won. Nobody's ever asked me what awards I've won. Nobody's ever asked me about the top this, that, and the other that I have achieved. Nobody's ever asked me about all of the things that I thought were important. Somebody else's stories were fueling that. And then number 5, on this, I wasted so much time. Each of these things that I've been talking about stems from a root fear. And the root fear, as we said earlier, is the result of the life experience that we've lived. Here are some of my root fears. I'm going to share these so vulnerably with you. One of my big root fears. So I'm a paid keynote speaker. People pay me significant amount of money to come speak at their conferences and events. They pay me to do trainings. They pay me to work with their teams. A big root fear that would stop me from promoting myself, that would stop me from going after new business, new clients, of growing my business, of even talking about the fact that this is what I do. What if I'm not actually as good as I think I can be? Say I book a keynote talk, but what if I'm not actually as good as I think I can be? What if I choke and I forget my words? What if I'm not good and they're disappointed? What if they ask for a refund? What if the audience give me a low score? What if I'm a disappointment? And what if I can't actually do it? Then I'm a fraud and they must be right. And when you explore what the root fear is of the imposter syndrome, of the imposter story, and you say it out loud, you remove the power. I know for a fact every single thing I just said to you, every single what if isn't true. I know that every single what if has a counter positive answer. And that's part of the homework for you from this episode. Identify your root fears, your biggest thing that you are worried about. It might be that your peers laugh at you. It might be that you forget your words on stage. It might be that you can't actually do the thing, which reminds me of a skiing story. I might have shared this on the podcast before. I often share it in my trainings with clients. Over the years, I've been on skiing holidays. I watch the people ski down the mountain, and maybe you're the same. How hard can it be? Then I've skied. Snow is fast. Snow hurts when you fall over. The easier somebody makes it look, the more they've practiced. In life, things are not necessarily going to come to you naturally the first time around. It's about practice. Disproving the imposter and moving past the fear of, well, what if I'm not good? The next step and the answer is, how can I practice? What practice do I need? What do I need to work on? What are the things that I haven't gone through and gone over, so that we then put in place a strategy for it? It might be that you have to do presentations in work. What is your biggest fear about that presentation? That your colleagues might laugh, that you might not have the data, that somebody might contradict you. What do you need to do in order to have the right data? What do you need to do? How can you practice? When can you practice? Where can you practice? And believe it or not, when I do the podcast episodes, I practice and I practice and I practice. You'll see me looking away because I've written notes. I want to keep on track with what I'm saying. I want to honor your time. I want to honor my time. I want to keep on the point. Through repetition, it becomes easier and easier and easier and easier. Imposter syndrome, to wrap it all up, the big secret that nobody's telling you is it's not about a syndrome. It's about a story. It's about a story that somebody told you, that other people around you are telling you over and over and over again, that is being kept alive because it's going around in here. When you get it out, it dies. Because as I've said, the fears cannot survive in the wilderness, in the real world. The fears can only survive in the places of the secret, in the places of the shame, in the places of, I should just be good at this. Other people are good at this. Why? If I need to practice, then I'm just not good at it. Every single person I know, including all of the documentaries of all of the athletes that we know, love and adore, including the singers, they all practice. And if I can share anything with you on this podcast, it is that nobody is the natural genius that they didn't need to practice what it is that they are good at. Perfection does not exist. All of the faces of imposter syndrome that Dr. Valerie's work talked about, that you just do it all on your own. If you don't do it all on your own, then you don't deserve to have the success. Nobody is a self-made, I did it all myself. Everybody has had support from somebody to get to where they are today. And if they are not prepared to acknowledge that, then that is a totally different subject. It's been an amazing conversation. I can't wait to hear what you take away from it. This episode could be double the length. This is just the first step, the first bit of the iceberg. Let me know, wherever you're listening to this podcast episode, let me know what you take away from it. Let me know what your questions are. Let me know what your ahas were. Leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. They are so, so, so helpful. Share the podcast with other people. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, it's your time. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to let me know by leaving a review so I can keep the good stuff coming. Come and say hi on Instagram at Success by Design Training, or visit my website successbydesigntraining.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Abigail Barnes. Until next time, don't forget, you are amazing and it's your time.